Well, the saga of Chrystul Kizer came to an end. Yesterday, the headline screamed, Chrystul Kizer gets 11 years in prison for murder of pedophile, arson, and vehicle theft. Although I think she was only sentenced for the murder. We'll see. This, of course, was written by Kevin Mathewson of the Kenosha County Eye. He keeps a very close eye on everything going on in that area. And so if you have an interest in Kyle Rittenhouse, Chrystul Kizer, or any of the other goings on in Kenosha, I highly recommend that you subscribe to his newspaper. I'll put a link in the description below. But we're going to read this and decide for ourselves. Do we think that 11 years is appropriate? Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With cold, blunt analysis cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's time for the Johnny Walker Dread Show.
Before we begin, I should mention that I have a lot of videos on Chrystul Kizer. If this interests you, check out my Chrystul Kizer playlist. I also want to go ahead and get in my thoughts about Chrystul Kizer. In my opinion, she's a very violent, dangerous person. While I understand her rough upbringing and the terrible things that Randall Volar did to her, at the same time, she snuck up behind him and shot him in the head twice, and then bragged about it on Facebook. This was not just a spur-of-the-moment killing. She planned it. In fact, she Ubered for 45 miles with a gun to go do it, then partied with the guy all night, then shot him early in the morning. Then she tried to burn the house down to hide the evidence. Then she stole his car. The murder was really more about getting the car for her brother than it was about anything having to do with sex trafficking. But let's go ahead and start. There she is. For some reason, she doesn't seem quite so young and innocent here. A 24-year-old Milwaukee woman was sentenced to 11 years in prison today for the June 5th, 2018 murder of pedophile Randall Volar III. Now, Randall Volar is a real scumbag. I am not going to defend him one iota. Did he deserve what he got? Well, I mean, that's a matter of opinion, but he certainly deserved a long-term prison sentence, and unfortunately, he didn't get one. We move on. Chrystul Kizer, who was 17 at the time, also burned Volar's house down, stole his money and his car and his computer, and was carrying a firearm as a felon. Now, all of you, Kyle Rittenhouse can't claim self-defense because he was carrying a gun illegally. People out there don't realize that, for one, he was carrying his gun legally. I have a lot of videos on that. And I know the law specific to that question inside and out. But also, it wouldn't matter because you can carry a gun illegally and still claim self-defense. In this case, however, she borrowed the gun from her boyfriend for the express purpose of killing Randall Volar. That is not like what Kyle did. So a lot of you are just big old hypocrites, claiming that Kyle can't claim self-defense because he was carrying an illegal weapon, while at the same time claiming that we should just ignore the weapons charge against Chrystul Kizer because she's young and a person of color. Let's face it, this was about politics. We move on. Kenosha County District Attorney Mike Gravely originally charged Kizer with first-degree intentional homicide, taking and driving a vehicle without consent. We used to call that car theft. Arson of a building, bail jumping, and being a felon in possession of a firearm. On May 9th, 2024, however, Gravely dismissed every charge except of the murder charge, which itself was pled down to second-degree reckless homicide. She went from a mandatory life sentence, if convicted, to a maximum sentence of 30 years. So she was facing 30 years here. She got 11. And good old Robinson's Auto Repair. That's Mike Gravely. I will say this, Kevin Mathewson is a good photographer. God, he's got some really good photographs of the cases he covers. We in no way asked the court to consider Mr. Volar to be blameless in this case, Mike Gravely said. But we in no way would say as a society or a criminal justice system that when one conducts themselves in that illegal way, that they are a target without responsibility for those who would violently prey upon them. So in other words, being a pedophile doesn't mean that you forfeit your life. We do have a court system here, and the way we handle pedophiles is that we charge them with crimes and then we convict them and we send them to prison. For those that think that, well, Randall Volar deserved what he got, that's called vigilantism, and you complain that Kyle Rittenhouse was a vigilante. So again, hypocrisy. We move on. For the plea agreement, Gravely could not recommend a specific amount of prison time. And I guess the K-Town Cafe is going to get some PR here. The state public defender, Jennifer Bias, told a tale of racism. Racism? What? Oh, come on. And said the Kizer acted in self-defense. Hey, Kevin, it's just Kizer, not the Kizer. This is not like the Kaiser Wilhelm. She doesn't deserve an honorary title like this. Okay. She took the DA's office to task by acknowledging that Volar was the suspect in a series of child sex crimes, and the DA's office didn't charge Volar from when a young girl was found roaming the streets in front of Volar's home in February of 2018, until his murder 4 months later. And the sentence a little long there, Kevin. There's a hyperlink here, by the way, for a young girl was found roaming the streets if you want to read more about that incident. And yet, he was quickly arrested, quickly released, and just as quickly continued his predatory behavior with Chrystul and others, said Bias. Chrystul is hopeful that the court can and will fashion a sentence that gives her the tools to deal with the trauma that I've talked about, the post-traumatic stress from the repeated sexual assaults and all of the sexual abuse. To fashion a sentence that assists her in getting the education that she needs, the job skills that are necessary for sustainable employment. Give it up, Jennifer. She is a street thug. She's never going to have gainful employment. She'll be out stealing cars and possibly killing people. Again, she took a gun, blew a man's brains out, and then bragged on Facebook about it. That's not a person that you're going to be able to rehabilitate. She's just violent. Furthermore, she planned it. And not because she was being sexually trafficked, but because she wanted Randall Volar's car. There's the judge. Judge Wilk touched briefly on Kizer's assertion that she killed Volar because he was trafficking her. Your actions may be excused if you are a victim, so you committed a crime, but they are not if you are a victim and you committed a crime. I don't follow that. I don't understand. I can't parse that. Come on, Wilk. You entered a guilty plea to the charge before you. That allows you to argue that your circumstances warrant mercy, but not that they warrant absolution. Yeah, Judge, we get it. She's been convicted. You're going to give her a sentence. Of course, she's not asking for absolution. This is just really strange. The PSI, pre-sentence investigation, and the information provided on your behalf for my review paint strikingly dissimilar pictures, said Judge Wilk, not believing Kizer's new story today. Well, she's changed her story a number of times. First, she claimed that she didn't even know Randall Volar. And of course, the police easily dispelled her of that notion. Then she claimed self-defense, claiming that he was attacking her and was on top of her. Then they said, yeah, it's kind of hard to explain how he could be sitting in a chair with the back of his head blown off, if that was true. Then she changed it to, I was being sexually trafficked. Now, why did she change it to that? Well, because her lawyer told her, hey, if you're a victim of sexual trafficking, you can get away with this. Ta-da! So, was she a victim of sexual trafficking? I don't think so. I think she fabricated that just so that she could get out of a murder conviction. And it worked. Well, it worked in the sense that she got only 11 years. We move on. It appears that your relationship with the truth seems fluid and opportunistic. Yes, absolutely. You claim to some that there was a struggle. To others, you claim that you blacked out and have no memory. This crime was brutal, opportunistic, and placed the entire community in danger. Gee, I think you would sentence somebody like that to a long prison sentence, but whatever. Wilk at first denied Kizer's motion to use the alleged trafficking as a defense. He was overturned by the Wisconsin Supreme Court, and I have a number of videos on that as well. Today, Kizer faced 30 years of prison time. Judge Wilk gave Kizer 11 years in prison. She has credit for 570 days, almost 2 years. Kizer, at one point, was on the run and committed a new crime in Milwaukee with a sex offender boyfriend, and I covered that as well. The state is looking to revoke Kizer's bail of $750,000, and a restitution hearing was set for November 8th, 2024. She doesn't have any money. The only thing you're going to be able to get out of restitution is that money that she gets while in prison for doing chores and stuff, and you can only take half of that. Keep in mind that this $750,000 was raised by a local charity. When I say local, not really, it was Chicago, for the express purpose of bailing Chrystul out. And that nonprofit could end up losing $750,000 in donations here. So here's Randall Volar. He's a real piece of... So what do you think? 11 years okay? I mean, the world is not going to mourn the loss of Randall Volar. But let's not forget what she did. This wasn't about protecting herself from human trafficking. This was a planned murder to steal a car from somebody. It just so happens that the person she was stealing from is a total scumbag. Like my video and subscribe to my channel.